Welcome back, YouTubers, to another Q&A. This one, 131, with us, the British Fist.
Catching.
NJ, can I get a what's up?
What's up?
And what's that? What do I do? No, I just sit there and watch you do the what's up, don't I?
And that's what's good for business.
That's definitely what's good for business. Remember that massive montage we had of all the people doing what's up? That was definitely good for business.
Oh, that was brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
It was indeed. Now you got a second one there. Anyway, let's get straight on to this Q&A, as that's what we're here for. You know exactly how to send in questions. Please send us as many as you can. UHTYP, U-Type 1. NXT should schedule pay-per-view style shows on free TV like TNA. Agree or disagree? You know what? I don't think they should. I think it's good every now and then for NXT to maybe have some kind of like big show where they hype up, kind of like a pay-per-view, but not like a pay-per-view style show. I do see what you mean, but at the end of the day, it is a developmental territory, and as much as I'd like to see it, I don't really think it's necessary.
Where my money is the pre-show, to be honest, the amount of long video packages, yes, it's needed to hype up the pay-per-view. You could fit 2 matches, a pre-show for the pay-per-view and an NXT thing, so at least it's getting some pay-per-view style thing.
So you would have the NXT Superstars fight in a pre-show match or something?
Two matches at the pre-show.
You'd use NXT to build up a match to the pre-show. That's not a fair idea. I can understand that. Deco5757. Would you agree that WWE lacks non-title feuds, as these can be some of the most heated feuds and can largely build up superstars instead of smacking a mid-card belt on them? Yes, and I think that's mainly due to WWE's lack of creativity when it comes to their writing sometimes. With a title feud, sometimes it's quite easy just to have challenger and champion. When you have heated feuds, sometimes it's a lot harder to actually write for it because there needs to be a reason why the two feud.
With a 3-hour Raw and the fairly big roster they may not be using, I think we could have more non-title matches, mid-card matches, wrestlers we want to see but don't get to see. But we said this at the very beginning of the 3-hour Raw concept. They've just not done that. They've used the 3 hours for the bigger wrestlers. So for your question, I think they've got the chance to, but they don't.
It's just the lack of creativity when it comes to the writing. That's really all there is. I mean, remember how good feuds such as Damian Sandow and Cody Rhodes were, and Bray Wyatt and Kane. They didn't involve belts, but they were still pretty good feuds.
Brilliant.
Orton and Bryan before they actually got the belt was a pretty good feud.
I could go far in the back by saying when Kurt Angle faced Jericho and Lord Voldemort got involved. They had lots going on there that may not have been for the title at first. It was interesting, good, entertaining.
Yeah. Austin and Triple H had that feud into like 2000, 2001. That never ever involved a belt, did it? Remember when they had that 3 Stages of Hell match at No Way Out 2001?
Yes, the W can do it, they just don't anymore.
No, I think it's also partly due to the fact that their characters just aren't larger than life enough to pull out those storylines. You can't. So it's difficult to write for people that are so generic, in my opinion. That's just the way it is.
Here's an example before we move on that they had the opportunity, which got the fans interested. Miz and Riley, not a title, and that was a great time to just have a one-on-one.
It was. No, I totally agree. The Miz and Riley feud was a really good feud, and then they just shot themselves in the foot, kind of like I did you in the last Q&A. But I shot you in the face. Does Ric Flair overrate his own ability? I've listened to some of his interviews where he basically buries everyone from WCW except himself. There is no doubt that if you're going to be someone like Ric Flair, who is going to be at the top of the game at one point or another, you're going to have a massive ego. And if you're going to have a massive ego, that means you're going to bury some people on the way, because everyone, like the Hogans of the world, the Austins of the world, the John Cenas of the world, the Shawn Michaels of the world, the Bret Harts of the world, they all had massive egos and kind of did the same thing, even at one point, with 1 or 2 points in their career.
I think people can, again, I love how heels do it. They, they really outdo their thing to get heat, which is good. When faces do it, yes, they have to come at the top of their game, but it doesn't work as good as heels.
Howard Starr. Who's the stupidest and funny wrestler that could end the streak? No, I think of a more stupid wrestler to end the streak. No, the stupidest wrestler to end the streak would be 3MB. Heath Slater ending the streak. That would be stupid. Because at least Santino's entertaining.
Yeah, a sort of being The Undertaker.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, but I'm just trying to go to a different level of low here.
Heath Slater could come out as a Undertaker, the like stupid gimmicky stuff he's got going on.
God. I mean, they had Santino come second last in the Royal Rumble. So he's got some kind of credibility. They nearly had to beat Daniel Bryan in the Elimination Chamber match, so they got a little shred of credibility. How much credibility does 3MB have? I'll give you a clue. What does that say. Exactly. If Hulk Hogan does return to WrestleMania 30, which is maybe likely, do you think he could bring back Mr. T, Jimmy Snuka, Roddy Piper, Paul Orndorff, and Cowboy Bob Orton just for the nostalgia of WrestleMania 1? I highly doubt it, because I think if WWE are going to want to do some business with Hulk Hogan, it'll be all about Hulk Hogan.
As much as they could do a whole bring back old wrestlers to make it a big classical moment, maybe if Hogan wins at WrestleMania, he could have a celebration with all of his buddies from the past, but I don't think it's needed or going to happen.
Imagine Hogan squashing 3MB. How much satisfaction that would give people. Exactly. But I mean, it would be a nice little nostalgia pop from WrestleMania 1. If they're celebrating 30 years, it wouldn't be a bad thing to do. But if they're going to bring in Hogan, it'll be all about Hogan. You know it will, because that's the only way he does business, brother. Playlist Maker SG. What do you think went wrong with Ted DiBiase Jr.? A lot of things. The guy had talent, obviously, but WWE just... I guess it got to a point where they just ran out of things for him to have or do, and it's just, I don't know, it just all went wrong for him. It's kind of like he was too good to be a jobber, yet they didn't really seem to have much going on for him as a character on the main roster that could win matches. I don't know.
He had a huge fan base, because as soon as he started to not appear, Twitter was flooding with it, and plus, Ted DiBiase was a very likeable character. When he was in Legacy, probably the one we would have had our money on, and plus, he had a feud with Cody. Again, this is going back to like the Miz and Riley thing. That feud was wanted to be seen and wanted to be done. Yeah. They did it for about a match or two, and it killed it, which, again, I'm going to blame the WWE more than Ted.
I remember that, because they had Ted DiBiase return, they had Cody Rhodes beat him up, get him injured, and then they had him return on the Go-Home show, only to lose to Cody Rhodes as a babyface, to get no reaction, and they wondered why, because they never built him up at Night of Champions, and then that was it. It ended, and then Ted DiBiase just was in oblivion and nowhere. But then you go. Who do you think will win Money in the Bank next year? A couple of contenders. Ryback could win it. I mean, you never know. We love a bit of Ryback sometimes. They might not be in the doghouse by then. Roman Reigns or a member of the Shield could win it. If you could build up someone maybe like Fandango, he could win it. Wade Barrett could possibly win it if he's built up as a legitimate character. Just a couple of, like Cesaro, maybe then he might be built up a little bit more. He could win Money in the Bank. There's loads of possibilities, and Cody Rhodes could possibly win Money in the Bank if he turns. I mean, even as a babyface, he could win Money in the Bank.
I'm hoping not Ryback. That's what I said. Here's another chance to get over. Not going to work. Fandango, he's more of an entertainer than a winner. So to be honest, my strong pick would be Cesaro, and hopefully, if the WWE ever do it right, Barrett.
Who do you think is most likely to be released? Evan Bourne, Ezekiel Jackson, JTG, or Yoshi Tatsu? The way I see it is...
Born to fly.
Evan Bourne can be a jobber. JTG can be a jobber. Yoshi Tatsu can be a jobber. Ezekiel Jackson, can he really be a jobber?
He's too much for like a, let's say, he's a big guy, you know, like Lashley and stuff, which I'm going to say Bourne because he's not came back. I know he's injured, but the WWE probably not going to give him another chance.
And he did a bit of pot as well with Jack Swagger and maybe R-Truth, I think. I don't know, but there we go. WWE 6636. Who do you think is the better wrestler, Hulk Hogan or John Cena? NJ just trolled you guys. I don't know. It's a difficult one because how do you determine the better wrestler? Do you mean in ring worker? Because in that case, I'd say John Cena, even though Hulk Hogan was a good wrestler in Japan.
Or do you talk about the finisher? Who's got the better finisher?
Or do you talk about who drew the most money or could draw the biggest reaction from a crowd? I mean, both of them are good in their own ways. It's really hard to see which one was better. Although I'd say Hulk Hogan, as an overall larger-than-life character and what he did for the business, was a better wrestler. It just depends how you define wrestler. Other people's definitions, you know, are different. Bo the Xbox Pro. Of these two, what is truly better for business? Kane's gimmick change or Big Show getting a title shot?
Wow.
I say Kane's gimmick change because it's about time they changed his gimmick in some way because it was getting stale.
Even though Kane's gimmick change nothing.
Yeah, done anything.
Big Show's title change. To be honest, I was having to speak with people on Twitter and Skype. Big Show has had many shots in the past to be in big segments, big moments. So it's not really benefited the Big Show or the WWE. So Kane.
Well, I think the storyline they did with him could have benefited business in a way, but The main event of Survivor was just shocking, so no. Do you see Daniel Bryan being in the next WWE title feud, or are they done with him for now at the top? I think it looks like they're kind of done with him for now at the top, but you don't know what WWE are going to do in the future. They may have him win the Royal Rumble. They may be building up to Bryan being in a big match at WrestleMania. We just don't know about these things until WWE have booked him. But it seems like right now, Daniel Bryan has been put back to the mid-card for now, and probably because WWE didn't think he was a big enough draw.
To be honest, I used to think, but now I just don't see it as much, is that Triple H does not like to miss WrestleMania, especially when he's still got it. I thought it was going to be Daniel Bryan going against Triple H just because of the way they were going at each other. But now with Daniel Bryan swooping down to the tag team, maybe that's just a temporary thing, but I've lost it with what Daniel Bryan's WrestleMania moment's going to be.
Worst Rumble winner ever in terms of, yeah, they won the Rumble, then nothing came of it. I think probably when back in the day, when Hacksaw Jim Duggan won it and I think Big John Studd won it, it didn't really lead to anything. So I'd have to say the early Rumbles, although you could say like Del Rio.
I'm about to say they made a big mistake choosing Del Rio over Santino in that Rumble.
Oh yeah, Santino could have been a much bigger star than Del Rio, couldn't he?
Yeah, he could. Think of that little Cobra.
Think how much of a draw that could have been for kids, people.
I think it would have been brilliant.
And what's Del Rio? He's so what? Yeah, he's Hispanic.
Christian, gone.
He gets no heat. Is he really a main eventer? There you go. If Cena ended Taker's streak, do you think it would be better for him to be heel? If not, will he ever turn heel again?
End the streak, he's going to have to be heel because no one's going to like him anymore.
No.
He
would. If he beat the streak, he would turn... What were you throwing there?
I was going to throw merchandise.
You just throw it like that. I'm like, what the fuck are you throwing? An imaginary camera. I don't know. He would probably end up being heel afterwards anyway, because everyone would hate that. Yeah, so he'd have to be heel. It would have to. Worst finisher in the WWE? Cobra. I hate that finisher so much. It's like, it's okay, it's entertainment, I get it, but my god.
Finger Poker Doom.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were pointing at me.
No, Finger Poker Doom.
Oh,
you know, that was just...
Well, that wasn't really a finisher, was it? It's just a move.
It still finished a match.
Well, it finished a match in WCW in 1999 on January the 4th, yes.
Awful,
but what about legitimate finishers? The leg drop was a terrible finisher. Just like, the leg drop was such a bad finisher. Like, I don't know, the leg drop stands out for me as like the most bad finisher in terms of impact.
DDT. In the past, yes, it used to be big because wrestling wasn't as big as it is now, but DDT.
Richard Collins, if you had to choose between Crimson or Matt Morgan to be in the WWE, who would you pick and why? Difficult one because Crimson's younger, and Matt Morgan I think would be the more sort of logical choice now. But I think Crimson could have more potential.
I'm going to put my money on just because I think he should have got better, Matt Morgan, because he was in the WWE, but then they just lost it.
Yeah, TNA never ever gave him a chance at the top.
Even though they hinted at the very end,
they lost a Sting. Then he lost a Sting to a finisher he couldn't even apply. So there you go. Would you get Drew McIntyre out of the three-man band? If so, how would you do it? Or are you happy that he gets on TV most weeks being a jobber? I don't think WWE will ever push Drew McIntyre on his own again. But if I was to get him away from 3MB, I'd just be like, look, I'd just basically book it logically. Like, if you were Drew McIntyre, you would just say, this is a joke. I'm better than this. I'm going to kill you both, and then I'm going to move on to doing things on my own.
I was close to thinking that, but I thought if we had let's say, a positive, good face mic talker, let's say Cody Rhodes brings up the fact of where Drew McIntyre used to be. Drew McIntyre wakes up and realises what the frick he's doing, feuds with Cody Rhodes, and brings himself up in a better way again.
When would you like to see the Ascension debut on Raw, before or after Mania? I'd definitely say after, because right now they're the NXT Tag Team Champions, and I think they really need to like run with that for a little bit and maybe have them feud with some tag teams and bring them down to NXT before they can really experiment with them on Raw, because they have a gimmick that can be very experimented with on the WWE flagship show that is Raw, but just a little bit more work is needed on the in-ring, in my opinion. The gimmick is fine, they just need to work on their in-ring a little bit, Conor O'Brien and Rick Victor. It's a shame that the ex-member they had, Kenneth Cameron, got fired, because he was a really good wrestler, in my opinion, and he was British too.
Well, I don't know too much about them, but all I'm going to say is that with the WWE, like we said earlier, the WWE wanting to make 2014 have more tag team involvement, maybe eventually they'll be moved.
Possibly. WrestleMania 30, would you either unify the WWE and World Championship with both champions and Royal Rumble winner, or unify the US and Intercontinental Championship, or do both? I think it would be hard to unify the WWE and World Championship because you'd have to factor the Royal Rumble winner in there. Maybe you could make it a three-way match for the world, for the unification, maybe. I mean, I don't see the point in unifying the mid-card belts, but...
I'm going to say both. The reason I'm saying this is the world titles, they could do another whole no way out moment, you know, scrap WrestleMania, have a rematch at WrestleMania, blah, blah. Mid-cards. If both championships were together, at least you'd have, like, all the main eventers, all the mid-carders fighting for one championship instead of trying to book two separate feuds for both the championships.
Just the fact that you said they were booking the championships is a bit of an insult, really, to us, isn't it? But there you go. RFV089. To Mr. Parkin. As you're someone who has a first in his degree, that's true, what advice would you give me in relation to university, and how many hours a week do you think I should spend in the library? You don't need to go to the library. There's something called your dorm, and I know if you're like, basically what I would do is I would never ever go to the library. I'll just get books from the library, go back to my dorm and do my work there. It just depends what kind of environment you're good at working in. If you get easily distracted, I would say do your work in the library. I would also say read probably 5 to 10 hours a week in second and third year. You don't really have to do that much reading in first year, but it's all about how you self-manage yourself. With me, I needed to pick up the basics in the first year, and I'd never done business before, so I did tons of work in the first year. Really didn't do all that much work in second or third year, and that doesn't help. I don't socialize that much either, but it doesn't really matter how many hours a week, as long as you actually intake the information that you need in relation to your lectures and your seminars, and you don't need to do that necessarily in the library. You can do what I do and maybe go on Google Books, which is what I used to do all the time. That's a revelation here on the British Face. I used to use Google Books. I didn't like going to the library. To NJ, what are your thoughts on foreign cinema? Definitely glad you got that one.
That's the way. Thing is, I would sit back, watch movies, subtitles good, because to be honest, not just movies, but TV shows or, you know, series of stuff have caught my interest. Like, there was a bit of anime and stuff which caught my interest for a while. So to be honest, I wouldn't turn it down as long as there's subtitles.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
Yes.
NJ, yes. Oui, I think is the response to that. If Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk, John Cena versus Undertaker, and Brock Lesnar versus The Rock were booked for WrestleMania 30, do you think the YWC will call out for a Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk main event?
Again,
they would, but they wouldn't get it because John Cena and Undertaker and Brock Lesnar and Rock are matches that would draw way more than Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. So why the fuck would it be the main event? Even if it is for the WWE Championship.
I think that Punk's given Daniel Bryan his time already. Yes, maybe you fans feel more could come from it, but take versus Cena, first time at WrestleMania. Brock and Rock, the fact that they both signed probably a year, 2-year contracts, could be a moment in the sun, but I don't think Bryan and Punk would overpower those other two.
Exactly, there's too much star power there. It's not, look, the 5-star, even if it is a 5-star match, which it probably would be at WrestleMania, it doesn't mean it should be the main event. It's what match draws the most and can sell the most tickets that should be the main event, which is why Savage and Steamboat at WrestleMania 3 was the 5-star match, but Hulk Hogan vs. Andre the Giant was the match in the main event and drew 80-odd thousand to the Skydome or wherever it was at the time. Toby Pierce, what 3 NXT superstars should get a push to the main roster? I think this question might be aimed at me and Jay.
JBL.
You can. JBL is a damn good heel. He's already pushed on the main roster. He's a heel commentator. 3 people. That's a good question, actually. Sami Zayn. I think he definitely should get a push on the main roster. Most over babyface on NXT right now. I say either Paige or Emma, because Summer Rae's already on the roster right now. So I'd say Paige or Emma, one of those two. And as for my next pick, there are so many characters that I would love to push to the main roster. I'd say, goddamn, Mojo Rawley. He needs a little bit of work, but that guy is like a fucking American version of fucking Ultimate Warrior. He is really intense, and that would be kind of a unique gimmick in the WWE right now, in my opinion. So they're my 3. That's really the end of this Q&A. Unless you want to do another one.
Yep.
Rock solid EJV 420. Been smoking a bit of 420. Do you think Andy Levine didn't get a fair start in WWE? No, he sucked. I saw him in FCW. He sucked. How the fuck did he win? I didn't even watch it. How the hell did he win?
Who?
Exactly. That's been another Q&A from us, the British Fest.
Good.
And it's this time, it's your turn to shoot me and do an outro.
People, one thing, I love this. Look at that. That is awesome. I love that, you see. I love that.
Pretty cool.